Because of all the interest that was given to the live broadcast about resealing the back, I decided to make a full video with a whole bunch of pictures and clips that I've had from either this time or in the past, and it'll show you exactly how to open up the back end and reseal it. The Facebook Live was pretty good, but I jumped around quite a bit, and so I'm going to use that as a main base in this, along with a whole bunch of other pictures. So I'll apologize now if it does get a couple times repetitious, but there's good points that are in different video clips that should be brought out. So the first thing you want to do is climb up on the roof and remove all the caulk on the gray panels. Underneath the caulk you'll find screws that you have to remove. Once you remove the caulk and the screws, the top of the panel will become loose, but it's still being held on by panel clips. To fully remove the panel, you have to lift up slightly and push outward away from the vehicle. Once you remove the panel, there will be some electrical cables that you'll have to work around, and this is what you're going to see, the failing tape underneath the gray panel. In this picture you can see the panel clips and how you have to pull it sideways to release them. For the center panel, once the top screws are removed, you just push it straight upward and it'll come loose. Because of all the wire connections on the top plastic panels, I hung the plastic panels by the wires. That's up to you how you want to attempt doing this. To remove the two-side vertical molding, you have to remove the caps covering the screws, both high and low. And then you have to go by the lights and remove the two screws that hold the lights in place. There's one high and one low again. To remove these panels here, you got to pull the caps off of the holes, and there's a screw there, there's a screw here, there's a screw here, and there's a screw. Again, there will be electrical connections underneath the gray panel, and you'll have to have it hang or disconnect. Here's a video of removing the bottom corner panel. To remove this bottom quarter panel, if you want to call it that, and to do that, I'll start here. There's two screws that go onto the back side right here. Have to get pulled, and then when you crawl underneath, you see this bracket right here. There's two bolts up here and right here. There's 7/16 bolts, I believe. Could be ½ inch. You pull them out, and this bottom panel will be able to get removed. When you do that too, you have to put a putty knife in here and break this seal. It's a two-way tape on here that you gotta break this seal right here. So these corner panels down low, if you crawl up underneath, there's this bracket. You'll see a little ½ inch edge here. There's two bolts that go in right here. Over here. These two bolts are being held in place right there. You take those two bolts out and you lift the panel straight up again off of these hooks, and that'll free the panel. You're going to have electrical you have to worry about. There's a bunch of harnesses here. I'm not sure if I added any harnesses. Yeah, for the side light here, that's one of my harnesses. So for your clearance light on the side, it might be hardwired, where you might have to cut it and reconnect it. But both sides, back up if you want, both sides get connected that way. You take your two side panels off first. When you're looking for these bolts here to undo, you have to crawl way underneath and look back towards the back. They're hard to find. They're not. To release the back center panel, take out the two bolts and then push straight up. The center panel will be on,
And the center panel, again, you reach underneath and there'll be two bolts holding the bottom in place. You pull the two bolts off and you lift it. And here's what these clips hold on to. And this panel comes off. You do have lights for the license plate. I put a quick connect on there too.
These are the wire connectors that I bought to use for all the different lights in the back. Here you can see the holes for the bolts that hold the side panels in place. The bolts that hold the middle panel in place is behind this area. Winnebago does have a bracket in place here. They did not have any screws or fasteners in my unit. I'm not sure about your unit. Here you can see the panel clips that hold the panels in place. You can see how you have to lift upward. Now that we have the panels off, let's look at what we have to do. Here's a look at some pictures I pulled off of our group that other members have posted and what they have found underneath the plastic panels. You can see that there is no seal left on their back walls. So all of this tape has to be removed and cleaned up, and this is the video that I took when I did clean mine up.
My back wall, because I was worried about if I had any leaks, and definitely there were some bad spots in the internal bond tape. Surprisingly, I always said that Winnebago forgot to run my cable for the back camera, and it was actually underneath the tape. There was no way of getting to it. Right here I found the end. Where am I at here? Right here's the end of it.
Now let's look at the lower part of the wall. This is where Winnebago, in my opinion, made a huge mistake, leaving these holes completely exposed with no caulk or anything over them. By looking at the screw heads, I could see the rust, and I just figured that the screws were probably completely rusted through. So I started investigating, and this is what I found.
Okay, I'm on the back of the unit. I took my bottom moldings off, and I just popped that screw out, and it broke off, and that screw just broke off. Here's the two screws that broke off. I'm just about to do this one. Oh, I can tell. I'm just moving it, and it's broke off already. So all of these screws got rusted, evidently, on the bottom here. Go to the next one here. That's completely gone. There's no holding power at that one. So I'm gonna do that. So basically this back isn't being held on by any true fasteners the way it looks to me. So I decided to put new screws in. I just tested one right there. It goes in nice and solid, but I drilled a second hole. Where's the second hole? Over here. I'm about to drill another hole. What I discovered is that I go about the same level. When I come out, that sawdust is just real soggy. It's not dry sawdust whatsoever. So evidently the back wall is starting to rot, but I don't think I'm at a point where it's a problem yet. I'm going to seal this all up and hope for the best at this point. One big problem I had, this is new tape on here. Winnebago never put this tape on. There are screws all along here that hold the back wall to aluminum plate that's back inside there. Every single one of my screws were completely broken off. I drilled new holes and put new screws in.
So as you can see, I used the Eternabond tape across the whole bottom. I just thought that was the best solution for the problem. At a previous rally, I did use a moisture meter and discovered that the very bottom did show some moisture very low in the wall. But a couple inches up from that, I did not see any moisture at all. That is the reason I decided to close up the wall and hope it will just dry up.
So I ran that tape first, then I ran the two side tapes down. Of course, if you're going to do the entire back wall, you should start low and work your way up so that the overlap is like a shingle on a roof. So you want them going up and then the top. At my top corners, I released some of it and I shoved it up under and I restuck it down and I put a little extra piece on there to reinforce it. So I had mine all opened up and this was all rusty, especially the trailer hitch. I scraped everything off and I painted on with a brush, good old Rust-Oleum. I haven't had good luck with that OSO rust preventer deal. It just wasn't working for me for the most part.
Now let's look at the side wall to the back. Unfortunately, I can't find the video I took of the Eternabond after I removed the two long side pieces. It was in fairly sad shape and definitely was leaking. This is a picture of somebody else's unit. Note the hole in the top corner and along the side wall to back wall. The Eternabond tape is completely open and can let water run through. The old Eternabond has to be removed and cleaned up completely. This is what I found underneath the lower gray panel. You can see that there's a definite gap there. Water can run right into it. Any screws in the area, I'm sure, are getting rusted and the wood's getting rotted because of it.
So peel this old tape off and it's coming off halfway decent, but if you just pull on it, now it's not. Oh yeah, it's really sticky stuff yet, but it's not holding all that great.
The glue residue from the tape is removed with a putty knife, and I used WD-40, kind of sprayed it on and left it sit for a little bit and then wiped it down, and it came off fairly easy. I did finish my cleanup with lacquer thinner. After my cleanup, I decided to drill new holes and put new screws in both sides. After the screws were set, I used Manus 75 to cover up all the screw holes, and I did the joint between the two fiberglasses. This is what the new tape looked like when I was done. You should take a roller and roll over all of the tape joints. I'm now going to show you where the problem is with Winnebago's design.
Here's my tape job, and here's the loose panel yet. I still have this side loose, but here's the tape on this side, and you can actually see where I have the screw hole right there. The problem with Winnebago, the overlap here is only about 3/8 of an inch, so you can only get a 1/4 inch roughly of adhesive on the side panel. So what I did when I did do it, I stuck the tape, 2-inch tape, just on this edge, and then I went back and I squeezed it onto the back wall. You'll be able to see where the line is by the old molding. There's a gray line there.
After I removed the panels and removed the tape, this is what the top of the back wall looked like. As you can see, there's a large gap between the roof and the back wall. The Eternabond is the only thing that keeps the water out, and if yours is failing, yours is getting all the water in there.
This Eternabond from Amazon, and I got the 6-inch. It's like $25 for this, for 8 feet of it. Hopefully that'll be enough to get around all these corners up here, because I'm a little worried about the corners actually. Surprising here that I found was, hold on, that there's a hole in the, am I getting it? Where is it here? Here. There's a hole in the styrofoam and a hole up on top for something. I have no idea what that would be for.
One other member sent me a picture of that same hole that they had. As you can see, it was fully exposed. On my unit, the hole was covered by the turn-up-on tape. On hers, the only thing holding water back would have been the seal on the plastic to the fiberglass. Here you can see the red line is that caulk line. The blue line is the eternal bond. Water could definitely just roll into there.
Okay, I've got the tape in place. It's wrinkled because of all the curves, and that tape has that plastic back on. But I took the roller and rolled it. I'm pretty happy with what I see. It's going to be way better. Winnebago actually had two 4-inch with a seam in it, and the seam was failing, it seemed. So I went with the 6-inch. This is the corner. The corners are really tough because of all the curves. But what I did is I first split right along here, putting this under, and this came over, and then I put an extra piece over it to guarantee it. And it did turn out pretty good, I think. This part will have to be trimmed away because the gray only covers a little bit, which that's a bad design on Winnebago, that they only had that little bit of an overlap right there.
So when you want to put things back together, you start with the center low panel by the license plate. You hang that panel on the panel clips, and you put the bolts in, but keep the bolts loose so that you can slide it right to left when needed. Then you go and you put the two corner panels down low on. Once you put them in place, you'll see where the center panel has to float to fill in the gaps. The Winnebago does not give you a whole lot of room to play with. Remember, when you put the two outside panels on, you have to put two-way tape between the two parts here so that they can be attached to each other. At this point, I would tell you to put the screws on the outside panels on the two little brackets here to bring in the side panels to the proper position before you tighten the bolts underneath. Once all that is done, it's time to put on the two side pieces. What took me by surprise is the holes that were once there are now covered up with the new tape. The best thing to do is to go look through the hole where the brake lights are normally, and the two holes that have the screws put in them are slotted holes. I suggest just putting two screws dead center, one in each of the slotted screw slots, and leaving all the rest of the screws until later, after the top pieces are placed in place, to make the gaps on the top and the bottom look identical. For the top, place the center panel in first. It's pretty simple because you still have the screw holes from the existing screws. Just line them up and put them in. Be careful when you tighten the screws so you don't crack the brittle plastic. Now you put the two outside panels in place. This is where it gets a little tricky. It's kind of a catch-22. You have to slide that top molding inward, but yet it has to fall inside of the gray molding coming up the side where the brake lights are in. So what I did, I placed the top molding just in place without using the panel clips to see where the gray molding should sit for the height of it, the up and down movement. Once you find a position that you like, tighten up the two screws behind the brake light area. With that molding fixed in place, put the very bottom screw in now. Then release the two screws you have behind the brake light so it's on a little swing pivot. You can swing the top out, put the top molding into the top of the brake molding, and then slide everything in place to the right or left, whichever side you're working on. That'll give you the proper placement of everything. Now you should be able to put all the screws in everything that needs it, across the top and on the gray molding holding the brake panel. Now all you have to do is climb up on top and re-caulk that seam. You got to make sure all your screw heads are covered up good. It will take 2 tubes of caulking to finish that off.
One more thing I'll cover here. I forgot I was going to cover this stuff. Okay. I used Manus 75 AM for the crack. When you open this up, if you looked on the videos earlier, there's a seam, a butt seam here with a gap in it. And that gap I filled in with the Manus the whole length of it. Then
This is Haig's 311 self-leveling sealant. On Facebook Live I said I bought it on Amazon. I'm sorry, I bought it at Camping World. As you can see, the internet picture of the container is different from what the container actually looks like. But what you're looking for is the 311 self-leveling sealant.
this is the self-leveling that I'm going to put the top panels back in place up there. You cover the screws and all that stuff, and you'll need 2 tubes. 1 tube isn't enough. Now, a lot of people have decor self-leveling, and this is, you can use it, but it's not highly recommended. If you do use it, you have to clean the surface very, very good, because this is kind of not compatible with what Winnebago used, and it doesn't hold as well as if you would go and get the I'm trying to think, this has a particular number to it. I'll have to post it later, but this is the stuff you're supposed to use. If you guys did not replace the original lights, you can get them. Is it focusing? You can get them for, like, I think they're like 19 bucks on eBay, and you can use the same top hole. Where we got here? I can't see here. Okay. You can use the same top hole, and you have to drill a new hole at the bottom. Right here, you can see the old hole and the new hole. I highly suggest doing that. They're twice as bright.
Since you have the whole back end opened up, this would be a great time to make the change. You should figure about 2 days to reseal the back end, as long as you don't have any major decaying already going on in your unit. I looked at my timestamp on the pictures, and I started about 10 a.m. and by 5 p.m. I was done retaping everything and ready to put the plastic panels back in place. In closing, I want to say that this is something that you should not be thinking of doing. It is something that you should be doing immediately. Just because you don't have any signs of water intrusion, don't think that your unit is watertight. Odds are the water is getting in. Once that back wall starts rotting and showing signs of soft spots and wall separations, it is too late. Even if you cannot do the work yourself, get somebody to help you or do it for you. RV service centers are booked way in advance. I still say any handyman can do this, so go to your local hardware store and find a handyman to do this for you. Catch it before it gets bad. If we can do it, they can do it. You have been warned. I hope I covered everything that is involved here. Ask questions in the post if you need to. Good luck, and I hope this helped everybody.